is so amazing about the Netherlands after World War II? Why is this a big talk in our present scenario? Let's check it out in detail. Do you think the Netherlands should be even bigger? Comment your thoughts down below. Notwithstanding its neutrality stance, German soldiers advancing into Belgium and Luxembourg at the same time on May 10th of 1940 attacked the Netherlands without a formal declaration of war. The attackers wanted to prevent a potential British invasion of North Holland by luring British and French forces deeper into Belgium and away from Ardennes. To conduct airstrikes against the United Kingdom, the Luftwaffe needed to seize the Dutch airfields on the North Sea. Welcome back to Just History. Today's episode will reveal the truth about the Netherlands after World War II. Please sit back and watch the whole video to know more about it in detail. Before the video starts though, subscribe to Just History for more similar historical facts and videos. The invaders imposed German rule over the Netherlands, and it persisted in some areas until May of 1945, when Germany finally surrendered. Throughout the occupation, active resistance, at first led by a small minority, grew more prevalent. Most of the nation's Jews were sent to Nazi concentration camps by occupiers. Scholars have questioned the viability of a single explanation at the national level due to the significant difference in the survival rate of Jewish residents throughout the local districts in the Netherlands. Over 70% of the nation's Jewish population perished during World War II, a far higher rate than in either Belgium or France, partly because of the country's meticulous demographic registers. According to classified documents, the Dutch administration and police were paid a bounty by the Germans to discover and identify Jews, which helped in their capture. In February of 1941, communists in and around Amsterdam organized the February Strike, a general strike to protest the persecution of Jewish residents. This was a first for all German-occupied countries. In addition to having the largest aircraft factory in the world in interbellum, or Fokker, Dutch colonies like the Dutch East Indies also made the country one of the top 5 oil producers in the world at the time, which contributed to the country's neutrality and the success of its arms deals in the First World War. As one of the richest countries in Europe, the nation could easily have funded a sizable and cutting-edge military. Christian and center-right political parties controlled Dutch governments between 1929 and 1943. The Dutch were affected by the Great Depression. This started from 1929 to 1933. To keep the value of the guilder stable, the incumbent administration of Hendrikus Collegen implemented a program of significant cuts, which between 1933 and 1934 led to worker riots in Amsterdam and a naval mutiny. The government was ultimately compelled to terminate the gold standard and devalue the currency in 1936. During the Great Depression, several fascist movements influenced by Nazism or Italian fascism formed in the Netherlands, but they could never garner enough support to become successful mass movements. The National Socialist German Workers' Party, which came into power in Germany in 1933, supported the Dutch National Socialist movement, or the National Socialistische Beweging, NSB, which attempted to grow in 1935. The Netherlands did not embrace Nazi-style racial ideology or its appeals to violence. The NSB's membership and voter base were already in decline by the start of World War II. Almost 1,200 people live in the Dutch farming community of Opijnen, where grazing sheep, cows, and goats outnumber human residents. Tractors must pass cars on the side of narrow roadways. There's also only one church that quietly tolls the hour and no merchants. It's difficult to comprehend how shocking it must have been 75 years ago when a massive explosion abruptly stopped the town's leisurely, acoustic, chthonic rhythms. After a raid over Kassel, Germany, on July 30th of 1943, an American B-17F bomber returned to its base in England when it was shot down and crashed in a nearby field. Men were falling out of the sky when villagers turned to gaze upwards. On July 30th of 1943, at around 11 AM, a terrific noise startled the residents of my village. A terrible smack was heard a short while later. I was at the town hall when I hurried outside and noticed a huge column of smoke to the right. In a 1945 letter, in English, to the family of one of the crew of the plane, which he subsequently learned was dubbed Man o' War, Bart for Mine, the then young mayor of Opinen, described racing to the plane of black smoke and seeing a burning aircraft whose cannons were still blazing. We observed two white objects in the air that were descending gradually. They were parachutes. We then simultaneously watched two soiled German planes circling above the one on fire. Under Pieter Cort van der Linden, the Dutch government was able to uphold Dutch neutrality throughout World War I. Even after the Nazi Party came into power in Germany in 1933, the Netherlands maintained its independence policy during the interwar period. Hendrikus Colijn, the anti-revolutionary prime minister who presided over the Netherlands from 1933 to 1939, held the opinion that the country could never withstand an assault from a superpower. Practically speaking, the government should have invested more in armed forces. Despite mounting international tensions, military spending increased between 1938 and 1939. Although in 1939 it comprised only 4% of total national spending, as opposed to roughly 25% in Nazi Germany. The attack on the Netherlands was one of the bigger strategies with the code name Fall Gelb. The Germans wanted to take over France. They hoped to get around the French defense line along the eastern border by traveling through Holland and Belgium. They could not allow England to establish a base of operations on the continent of Europe while they were occupying the Dutch. Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg were to be defeated by a surprise invasion, the so-called Blitzkrieg, by Germany. This was the Germans' employed espionage to identify the Dutch defense's weak spots. To map out the area, several German officers disguised themselves as tourists. They also got information from Germans residing in the Netherlands. Yet, not all German measures were going as planned. When a German aircraft attempted a landing in Belgium in the early months of 1940, the Belgian army was able to obtain the Nazi invasion plans. Hitler decided to delay the assault. The raid was delayed numerous times after that due to the subsequent inclement weather. Dutch observers witnessed German Luftwaffe bombers flying towards the North Sea early on May 10th of 1940. They believed that they were traveling to England. The aircraft turned 180 degrees and returned to strike the Netherlands once they were over the water. War raged throughout the Netherlands. Hitler used a lie to justify the attack to sway public opinion. He asserted that England and France were preparing to attack the German Ruhr region through Belgium and the Netherlands. Hence, some German soldiers were taken aback when they never encountered any English forces in the Netherlands. Around The Hague, bombers hit military fields and barracks. German planes dropped soldiers, including paratroopers, who planned to win quickly by kidnapping Queen Wilhelmina and the government. The Dutch soldiers' ferocious resistance and German errors are to blame for the plan's failure. The final loss of the Dutch East Indies coincided with the war's conclusion. Following the Japanese surrender in the Dutch East Indies, Indonesian nationalists engaged in a 4-year independence war against Dutch and initially British Commonwealth forces. This conflict eventually resulted in the Dutch recognizing Indonesia's independence. Then, a large number of Dutch and Indonesians left or came back to the Netherlands. And with that, we come to a close. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, then like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more such amazing content. Watch some other videos from our playlist too, and we'll see you in the next video.